This is Boy. One morning, in front of his classmates, Boy, a big fan of Michael Jackson, proudly talked about his father, Alamin. He said his dad was an expert diver. His classmates didn't believe him because, in reality, Boy's father was in prison for robbery. Boy lived with his grandmother, his brother Rocky, and his young cousins after his mother died giving birth to his younger brother. Due to these hardships, Boy often got bullied by a classmate named Kingy. Boy usually ignored Kingy's taunts, but that day, Kingy went too far by making fun of Boy's mother's death. Boy was all angered that he wanted to punch Kingy's face. Unfortunately, he was punished by his teacher to clean the entire school. When Boy was going home, he was confronted by Kingy's older brother who threatened to make his life feel miserable if he dared to touch Kingy again. Boy chose to confide in everything to his below-to-pet goat. Even though it couldn't respond to his rant, at least he could say everything to his heart's content, and he doesn't need to be afraid of his confide leaking everywhere. The next day, as usual, Boy would find Rocky venting at length at their mother's grave. Rocky actually still wanted to speak to their mother a lot, but he had to go home with Boy, who at that time had to replace the role of their grandmother who was away. At night, Boy was surprised by the arrival of his father, who had just been released from prison, along with his two friends. Boy couldn't help but feel happy when he saw his father whom he had longed for in front of his eyes. He then called Rocky to greet their father, but unlike Boy, Rocky was only silent, remembering that this was his first time meeting his father. When entering the house, one of Alamin's friends said that the house was shabby because there wasn't a single valuable thing that could be stolen except for the doorknob, which was made of copper, which he would melt in the fireplace and sold to a copper collector. Alamin immediately asked his friends to take the gifts he had prepared for Boy, from microwave, milk, bicycles, roller skates, and handcuffs to fireworks. After playing with some of the fireworks, Alamin gave the rest of Boy and then left. Asleep, Rocky doubted that his father Alamin had changed and questioned if Alamin was even there when he was born. He felt Alamin didn't deserve to be called a father. Boy defended Alamin, insisting he was there when Rocky was born and that family should stick together. Boy believed their father was great because he won their mother's heart. The next morning, Boy found Alamin clearing out the garage to use as the headquarters for his gang, Crazy Horse. Alamin's goal was to fight the law and be a rebel. After driving Boy around the village, Alamin dropped him off at his aunt's shop. Boy asked for free ice cream but was refused, so he joined his friends to play with fireworks. He didn't let his friend Dynasty play with them, but gave them to his crush, Chardonnay, even though she didn't really like him, especially when he imitated Michael Jackson in front of her. From where else? Rocky was confiding in a friend, saying that he was the cause of his mother's death. If only he had been born in this world, his mother would still be alive. His friend who was listening, of course, didn't agree. For him, it was all his destiny, and he didn't need to keep blaming himself. After all humans born in this world must have a reason to be born. Meanwhile, Alamin and his two friends went to dig up something in a field. He remembered very well that before he was arrested, he had buried most of the money he had stolen there. Suddenly, Boy came in full of confusion. He thought that Alamin was looking for treasure and without being asked, immediately took the initiative to help dig up the field. He was so happy, especially when Alamin said that he would build them a big house and get him a pet dolphin. After that, Boy gave him marijuana leaves he had just taken from Dynasty's father's crop. Of course, Alamin was overjoyed. Since then, Alamin started to pay attention to his children, especially Boy, by keeping his promise to cut Boy's hair to make him look like Michael Jackson. Though done badly, Boy still felt happy. After that, Alamin confronted Kimmy and his older brother for bullying Boy. On their way home, Alamin and Boy saw Rocky walking alone and took him to have fun at the beach. At the beach, Alamin told Boy and Rocky about meeting their mother for the first time in elementary school and advised Boy not to go all out with the girl he liked. After returning from the beach, Alamin decided to have a small party in the garage. He asked Boy to taste his favorite wine and told him to stop calling him Dad, suggesting Chauvin would be cooler. Before Boy could respond, Kimmy and his brother arrived, and the party continued late into the night. When Boy's cousin complained about being hungry, Boy ignored him and kept enjoying the party with his father. When Kingy's brother said that Boy was lucky to have a father like Alamin, at that moment, Boy imagined that his father was so cool like Michael Jackson. The next day, Boy invited Chardonnay to ride in his father's car, but because he wasn't allowed to drive yet, he just pretended that he was driving the car, and later in the afternoon he showed off the microwave his father had given him to Chardonnay. Bored with all the things Boy showed her, Chardonnay decided to leave. Boy was very upset after messing up his date with Chardonnay. He then vented it by secretly harvesting some marijuana and Dynasty's father's crop, and not long after that, he dubbed up the field again, hoping to find the treasure. When Alamin was tattooing his friend, Boy wanted to get a tattoo too, but his father refused to use the needle and instead tattooed him using a permit marker. One night, when Boy was waiting for his father in a casino, he was suddenly surprised by Dynasty. Apparently, Dynasty's mother was gambling there. Dynasty mentioned it had been a while since they talked, but Boy, without feeling guilty, said he had been busy with his father and didn't have time for friends. Hearing this, Dynasty couldn't believe Boy had changed and left. When they got home, Alameen angrily called his mother because she refused to give him money he needed to pay off debts. Upset, Alameen punched the wall and then left. Boy, knowing his father was struggling financially, eagerly dug in the yard, hoping to find treasure. When Rocky offered to help, Boy rejected him because he thought digging was an adult's job and not suitable for Rocky. After Rocky left, Boy continued digging. After a long hard work, Boy found the stash and took it with him. He then counted the money near his pet goat's pen and estimated that the money he found was around $8.4 million. He felt as if he had the upper hand because with that money, he quickly became rich. Boy went to his aunt's shop wearing his father's Crazy Horse jacket to buy the ice cream while treating all his friends. When he was enjoying his ice cream, Alameen suddenly appeared and was angry because he saw Boy wearing his favorite jacket. Boy was so shocked he couldn't process what just happened. He didn't know that his father could have the heart to embarrass him in public. Since that day, Boy decided to return to his routine taking care of his younger brother. That night, when Boy and Rocky were getting ready for bed, Alameen returned home. He apologized for his past mistakes, expressed his love for his sons, and referred to himself as the Incredible Hulk, admitting he was sometimes bad but mostly good. He promised to be a better father. Touched by his words, Boy and Rocky forgave him without asking many questions. The next day, Boy went to check on his pet goat's pen to retrieve money hidden there, but found out the goat had eaten most of it. To make up for the lost money, Boy tried to melt down all the doorknobs in the house to sell the metal, but it didn't work out. Boy then asked Alameen what he would do if someone else found his hidden money. Alameen said he would kill that person without hesitation. Boy then took Alameen to Dynasty's father's marijuana crop to compensate for his mistake. They stole the entire crop, but Dynasty caught them in the act and felt betrayed by Boy. That night, Boy and Rocky joined Alameen and his gang to celebrate their successful theft of the marijuana. Rocky expressed his admiration for their father and wanted to know more about him. However, their celebration was interrupted when a local gang confronted Alameen's gang for stealing their marijuana. Boy initially imagined his father winning the fight and dancing like Michael Jackson, but in reality, the gang beat them up badly. Alameen returned home angry and unknowingly hit Boy's pet goat in frustration. Boy was about to cry, but Alameen told him to leave from there. At first, Boy obeyed his father's orders, but not long after they arrived home, Boy and Rocky quietly returned to the location where the goat was hit. While having the goat, Boy apologized for the mistake his father had made, and after that, Boy and Rocky took the goat to be buried near the pen. What he felt very frustrated and invented, he went to drink alcohol and smoke marijuana near his mother's grave. After that, Boy sat on the bridge railing. He slowly closed his eyes and suddenly remembered his old memories of his time with his mother and realized that his father was never there for them, even when his mother died when giving birth to Rocky. He then fell off the bridge onto the river. On the other hand, Alameen was packing his things to escape, but unfortunately, his friends betrayed him and took the car and all the stolen marijuana, resulting in him becoming depressed. Rocky witnessed Alameen in distress and tried to console him. During their conversation, Rocky confessed that he believed he was responsible for their mother's death. Alameen was left speechless upon hearing this revelation. Suddenly, Boy appeared and handed over what remained of the money that the goat had eaten. Alameen seemed about to get angry, but Boy unexpectedly slapped him multiple times. Boy expressed his disappointment and frustration, realizing that his father had never truly been there for them, especially when Rocky was born. He had misjudged Alameen as a role model, only to discover that he was obsessed with money and unreliable. The next day, Boy began cleaning up his grandmother's house, and his grandmother returned home later that day. Boy took the opportunity to apologize to Dynasty and his other friends for his earlier arrogance. Fortunately, his friends were understanding and forgave him. Meanwhile, Alameen was shown imagining himself learning to be a samurai in Japan. However, this was just in his head. Since the day Boy slapped him, Alameen had been mentally disturbed and struggling with his thoughts.